So that's a lot of information. I think I'm going to leave you with that. I'm going to turn it over to Jef, but thanks again for coming. And
all right. Welcome everyone to this evening's poetry sharing. Really glad to have you in the house. Thank you for showing up. My name is Jef Szilagyi. I'm one of the 5 word Wranglers, the poets that are here tonight to share some poetry. We are deep into our 2nd year. I think this fall, at least for my participation, will be 2 years. We've been getting together every month on Monday nights in one of the rooms and sharing 2 poems and listening to each other's 2 poems and offering feedback onto each other's 2 poems. And as somebody who's not been sharing poetry since college, it's been a really profound and wonderful thing. So I'm grateful to be part of the Wranglers, and I'm really excited that we're here tonight to both support the community center and to share poems. So this is our first public reading as a group, and as you'll see on the back table, which are for sale over there, we published a small anthology of our older work. We all have more work since then. Big thank you to the San Geronimo Valley Community Center for hosting us and supporting the poetry group. In particular, Dave Court. I know Mac has been working with a lot of people here coordinating and supporting and letting know what we're up to, but I know Dave's been an important part of that, so thank you. I want to thank all of you as the audience for showing up, for language and for words. I was thinking about what to say, and I heard this interesting thing by Ethan Hawke the other day where he's talking about the value of creativity and poetry, and that, sometimes it doesn't seem too relevant, but in our hardest moments, we really see why creativity matters to us, why poetry, when somebody's, at a time of a birth, a wedding, a passing, a death, those kind of things. And so, we turn to poetry. And so I was thinking about that a little bit. I wanted to say, we don't, in some ways, know what anybody's holding in their lives tonight, or why anyone's here, at least I don't. And so I want to honor that maybe there might be a moment in someone's language, or in the practice of listening, or in the exchange of energy that we're going to share tonight in these words, that it might help someone along the way. So my invitation for you right now is to center, connect to that place that knows that words have a profound impact in lives. And maybe it's your life tonight, maybe it's someone else in this room, or maybe it's just the practice of being in the beauty of language, that something good will happen. So, yeah, so open your heart, open your mind, however that works for you, whatever your imagination is. Great. So as you can tell, I'm kind of playing the MC tonight. It feels a little poppy? Is it a little bit loud? Okay. Here it sounds a little loud. Okay. Maybe it's just echoing up higher in the room. Our first poet tonight is Dossie Easton. And in addition to being a word wrangler, Dossie is an educator and a therapist in the sex-positive communities since the early 70s. She has co-authored several books that are sex-positive, including The Ethical Slut. I know she's returned to poetry. It's always been there, but having her in the group and having her show up for the poetry journey we've been on together has been a kind of, as I understand it, Dossie, a kind of return to something that you wanted to spend more time with in your life. And so part of her value of poetry in our circle is nourishing something that's always been there in a more earnest way. So welcome, Dossie Easton.
There'll be a moment for furniture moving. It seemed to me when I was thinking about what I would choose to read tonight that West Marin has had so much to do with my poetry, that I wanted to focus on sort of poetics of place, and particularly the place that we are in right now. And I'm starting out, the first spring I was here was a spring, an incredible spring right after the first rainy season that had heavy, heavy rains after a 7-year drought. Anything familiar about that this year? And this is what I discovered with the wildflowers, just blew me away. So I wrote this. Come May, everywhere on this hill, strumpets bloom. Hard little buds unfurl gaudy banners beckoning shamelessly. To me, to me. My petals are tender, my juices are sweet. I thirst for the drinker of my tart nectar. Through this meadow, inadequately veiled, comes May, traipsing. Her skirts are too light, the sun warming lifts them from hills spread like thighs. Revealing bright petals, she summons the birds, casts pheromones on the breeze. Bees dance in her fragrance. Enticing the insects, where am I? Sorry. Here we go. Inviting intrusion, she opens her blossoms, enticing the insects, come crawl or come fly. Climb on me, creep in me, steal to my secrets, come carry me away. Iris to beetle, poppy to butterfly. Like sirens to ships call out to us all in flagrant delight, as if flowers could sing, cry out for joy. Listen to her. May comes. There, spring. It's handled. This one I wrote about a full moon in April when I was living in Bolinas and overlooking the ocean. It was so gorgeous and so bright. It's a little bit of an odd poem, but, well, I think you'll like it. When the April moon lights our way home each night, bright enough to reveal reds and greens of baby leaves erupting, eager fat flowers reaching, everything looks up to her. We all look up to her as she drags up the tide, admiring her reflection in the rising swell, beautiful like a pregnant child of 15 years, sleek and creamy, distending. The seed, the nut, the maiden becomes the fruit. Her once innocent self becomes sustenance for what succeeds her. Ripe and heavy she rises, like lilies overlooking the sea. Her beauty, the set trap. How we love the way her light inspires us. You don't wear yourselves out if you clap every time, you know. Here's one you might remember. Living in Bolinas involves some really interesting stuff when the storms come, because they come very heavily there. And I lived in Bolinas for about 6 years. And this one is called Give an Ear to the Weather. We didn't know how to listen. We didn't let in the sneaky rustling in the old grass, the ominous guttural chant of rainfall muttering in the ditches. We didn't listen to the creaking and splitting in the trees, the hissing of needles in the dark. We didn't notice the smell of the tide rising underground past the septic tanks. We closed our ears to the frantic choking of leach lines as they struggled to release their loads, to the mud bearing down on our retaining walls, to the surf sucking at the edge of the pavement. We failed to pay attention to the harsh rattle of the stream gushing across the road that sprayed up in protest around our speeding car. Determined to beat the rain home, we didn't slow down. We didn't want to hear the thudding of overloaded clouds, tons of water lumbering across the sky. We never heard the rivers of silt crying over the bedrock. So we weren't home when the mountain slipped. When the torrent howled out the culverts and tore down the cliff, we were out on the road. We heard the mud cascading where the road used to be as we backed up, panicking to higher ground. We were deafened by a family of full-grown redwoods shouting down the gully like giant playful children sliding in the mud. We listened to the hail shooting at the roof of the car we huddled in. We heard the wind hurl at the doors. We were wide awake when thunder cracked and lightning shattered, and all that water kept falling down. We huddled in for hours in the rocking shelter of the rain-bashed car. When the storm blew over and the cheerful sun rose, we rolled down the windows and listened carefully to the nervous carol of 1,000 new rivulets scampering down the hill. Look, sun shines, surf churns, still angry. Listen, chattering under everything, water drains. This one was written at Agate Beach in Bolinas. I had gone there one day after being tired of listening to Fallujah and Ramallah and all these terrible things that were happening. And I went down with my notebook to the beach and I sat down on a rock. And when I looked up about 6 feet away from me, there was a vulture lunching on something probably pretty disgusting. And it seemed that this was the song she sang to me. The rag pickers have abandoned the battlefield. Dust has come to settle like blankets over the naked dead. Soon the air will be perfumed with the tangible honey of blossoming flesh. Skin sloughs, muscles soften like peaches in the sun. Flies build nests in eyes that watched, crows dispatched, lips, noses, fallen, faceless, defeated. They do not bury their dead. They write no histories. I keep vigil on the timeless updraft and wait for them to ripen. When the sweetness rises on the wind and the spoils of war spill out shining from the guts split open, I and my sisters will honor their flesh, offer them up to their rightful cause, strip them down to meat and bones, and scatter their composition to feed the earth that saw them born. Well, they can already have it, can't they? This one wasn't written in West Marin. It was actually written on Mount Parnassus in Greece. There's a cave up there called the Corinthian Entrone. The story is that there was a nymph that Pan had a crush on, and he was chasing her around, and she kept evading him and eluding him. And that he freaked out, and that's where we get the word panic. That's a nice story. I spent about 5 hours in that cave by myself. There wasn't anybody else around. It was just a remarkable experience, which I wrote about. Beside an ancient juniper, high up on Parnassus, far from any oracle, a great cavern opens a vulva to the planet. Dripping granite, mossy pillars, shadowy crevices, rippling curtains petrify. The children of the mountain do not speak the future. They open the earth to the sky. Rumor has it Pan nests here. Mighty goatfoot, your great cock has eyes that see the dark, deep into the dark, down where desire pulses. Red and warming, you spurt dreams deep into our mother. Earth quakes to meet your gaze. Down in the dark where Persephone ripens, Gaia composts our slow-burning resentments, our squirming fears. So spring arises from winter's dying ambition. If Pan should come to open me, stretch me around his thick, wild vision. I half know these poems, you know? If Pan should come to open me, stretch me around his thick, wild vision, shred all my costumes with his bright, sharp horns. His cock's eyes see only naked truth. Stubborn, isn't it? Here we go. His cock's eyes see only naked truth. Lover of earth, your bright cock rips up history. Then you shake us awake to build again what you have torn apart, and we will erect another history for you to destroy again. Dance on my grave, goatfoot. Welcome me home. I will ride your huge laugh deep inside our mother, deeper and darker, till your cock's eyes light elsewhere. And now we live, many of us, in what is now being discussed as adjacent to the wildernesses, right? We are on the edge of where the fires come and so on and so forth. And it seemed to me that there are a lot of different what's the word I want? Places that are supposed to be like this or supposed to be like that, right? So I wrote this poem that's called Genus of the Weeds. Not genius, genus of weeds. In the books they call them volunteers, neither drafted nor recruited. An army of weeds marches into battle barrenness. Wayward blossoms smuggled in by squirrels and possums. Eager, hopeful, they send out shoots for the advancing forest. Most of them cannot be found in field guides. A mysterious identity is essential to the wisdom of weeds. Were they exiled from their families for refusing to get in line? Out of order outlaws who persisted in sending runners wherever the sweet water flows? No one ever planned to cultivate me. My parents had pictured a more faintly blushing rose, coaxed into bloom in a bud vase. I grew hardy fighting cultivation, broke out of their well-tended plot, cast myself on the whim and a breeze, to seek the eerie bloom of dangerous fruit, and set my roots down in a sanctuary for my own wildlife. I'd like to close this with a sonnet, and it's my homage to Edna St. Vincent Millay, whom I'm very fond. It's got a title. You're not supposed to put titles on sonnets, but this one is called Love's Lesson Learned. Let me be blessed with all the joys of love, and further blessed with all the sorrows too. For just as sure as push must come to shove, so I must come to grief for loving you. So let me float on passion while it lasts and drown in excitation. Like a fool, once I fall in love, the die is cast and I will follow. Stubborn as a mule, until we come to just that time when you've burned out and lust grows cloying, dull, and thick. And I get anxious, and you disapprove. Let me remember when the nettles prick, regrets the goad that makes the donkey move, and heart's desire, the carrot on the stick.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dossie. Our next poet is DiMatteo. Ryan is a native of New York, and he's been living in the Valley for the past 10 years. As he says, his poems are drawn from trying to understand the human experience of love, sleep, death, and prayer. Ryan has also self-published 10 other books of poetry. Welcome, Ryan DiMatteo.
Hello. How's it going? Good. Thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. I think it's best to start this off with some gratitude for sure. I'm guessing like most of you, I wear a lot of hats in my life. And this poetry one is an important one. It's a meaningful one. And this crew of ours has done a lot for me. And learning how to be a better poet, how to better express myself, how to, I don't know, put up with all of you. We have a really good time. Stories for days. So, got some poems. Let's start here. Am I too loud? It sounds really loud.
Yeah, it's not.
No? Okay. So, let's see here. This is called The Test. There isn't some other angel to administer conquest over the many lands of your heart. Your rugged, time-bound bosom will have to cleave to the questions placed here and ready for answer. Of course, you haven't got them in you, haven't got any more buckets to fit onto the rope of the well, plumbing the depths for the water of life that may revive the flame of knowing what to write for a passing answer, graduating you to death. This is the test. Your angel already here within the questions. Okay, this is another one. It's called 9-Minute Poem. Sorry, some mosquito up there. A baked potato in the storm, with an inkling of where language can take me, do fear words and wet socks in the last sink full of dishes to be thrust upon this life. All of our lives come and gone and given to the one that forced us here. I may be forced back, but my hope is that it is a rain falling upward until it breaks upon some other descending soul. The hand searching to drain for that last butter knife, a puddle gathered around us, dinner was served, and the words got me to hear. This one's about me getting a few minutes to put my feet up. It's called Letting Down the Reader. You happen to be the listeners, but letting down the listener, okay? In these narrows of the domestic wedge in the unknown, where I'm supposed to find some word flow, vice grip to the bones, and to the abyss of nothing ever being home. I find a few brief moments to recline and spy upon a single standing palm. I never understood such a tree, carrying dead pieces of itself under its armpits, phallic in the wind with 1,000 fingers greening for hierarchy in spaces between cloud. It is awkward in its own nature by any account. But this, coming from a man who has to remind himself to breathe, to search out where he hides in himself, I wouldn't be convinced that these words are flowing if I were you. But now the moment is leaving, the wedge is back, and time lost to the narrows, and this palm has no judgment of me at all. So, it's been just over 4 years. I've had the absolute privilege and honor and deep learning to be step parenting, and now 8 and 11-year-old boy, through my good woman here, James. And yeah, it's sort of like, getting thrown on the top of a ski slope, not knowing how to ski. And so I have some poems about the boys for sure. This one is about the observance of like seeing the wildness in boys, in kids, and how we need to domesticate them and to fit into society. And that sounded harsh. We're actually pretty mellow, but yeah, it's about kids learning. It's called With the Boys. The strange creature child, more native, while just as foreign to the language world, creating bridges and pastes, a semblance of order in unending mistakes. There are too many interests to be killed out of them. Too many wide eyes to narrow, an imposition of remembering, a condemning of the pharaoh. It is survival, in the name of love, founded in a depth of fear unable to be comprehended, and it is now in its other undying iteration, another household with a set of names, another deciphering away from the profane, all this time to deal with the lacking instinct of the creature child, all the ways for it to fail. Called out my good lady here enough. This is going to be pretty obvious, but I don't know. If poetry isn't about relationship, then I don't know what it's about. So this is called Getting Clear. Both of us locked in that small house, the storm smashing into the roof and windows as our yelling continued to drench each other. Nonsensical to try to kill one's demons through the person you love. Unable to leave, we landed upon the great neutralizer I don't know. Brushed our teeth in silence and somehow managed the ritual towards sleep while waters puddled everywhere around our savior prison. It took me until the early morn to dream of her bare-breasted and beautiful. As she moved close, her center chest opened a perfect hole, lined in flesh and spinning. I could see straight through and was convinced that this is how it always is. And she smiled and closed it just as a pair of lips. And I awoke to the rain that kept her asleep, my body pained from the rage I had released, my heart cleaned by the dream that said, you know.
Yeah.
So, I think most of my poems for many years were kind of, it's hard to get through them. I don't know if they made any sense to anyone else. This crew has really helped me refine. I tried to bring some that were a little more straightforward tonight. This one's about speaking of dreams, is the last one. This is about a dream. It's a bit more imagery. So maybe, I guess I'll say, like, don't try to find the meaning in it. Try to see if there's meaning through the imagery. It's called Stuck in a Silence. Will I have to bind you to keep you in time? As to the rope, as to the breast, your eruption sees the unrest. Likely from the cause of trying to fit into the human, may I suggest that you try asking for less, enough to get your 2 hands onto the bellowing breath. It is not consistent but rhythmic yet. Off the pelvis, impale, tapping your heel, grown beyond the lengths, the nurse brings in her meal with hidden pill gone blank. This version of milk to metabolize, it calmed enough to turn the head, revealed cathedral ceiling inside the chest, beaming up the neck 2 brass bells. For eyes, your ropes pulling with each new footing. The window tower opens its mouth and in falls the light. Had you seen that the hymns had started some time ago? The bouncing off the walls is their attrition of stone repetition of the old words, new with need, the pews as to the ribs encircling that central view of where you preach. I gave you the book you could not read, so you started singing, and now we are stuck in a song, the same one that never repeats. Will I have to free you to finally conclude time, gaining back your color, compelled to the staging womb, and there, ready to the exit, out through the eruption of silence. I have a couple, I thought that was the last one. Alright, this is new. This got workshop on Monday, it's not done, but it's straightforward and I like it. It's about the boys again. It's called Some Idea of It. A boy and a borrowed dog, both having come together for this brief time, his in his accelerating youth, hers in her owner's weekend getaway, and us in our early morning skip to the elementary schoolyard. The found tennis ball was newish before her instinct teeth, his 11-year-old arm rocketing it across on repeat. Neither needed more time nor history to beam of a love so deep. We walked home, his hand through the leash, behind her prance over some suburban street, while we all witnessed what comes of such simplicity. I used to look for the gods. I used to think about thought endlessly, yet returning from this little world, brief and borrowed, I again see how easily life can be missed for some idea of it. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ryan. Our next Wrangler, Sandy White. I'm going to read a little bit of her bio in the book Anthology. Sandy spent most of her early years nestled in an old stone house in the hill country of Pennsylvania, more specifically Landenberg, where the only people to talk to were trees, a stream, turtles, a boulder, and cats. then off to private day school in Delaware in first grade at age of 4, with no opportunity for average socialization, always being behind or ahead. There was little else for her to eventually become other than some kind of artist, or an artist of some kind, excuse me. And Sandy did the painting that's on the cover of the book. And she also said one other thing today that I really liked, which is when I was asking her about her values around poetry, she said, it's more like what brings poetry into me, rather than the other way around, an incessant conversation in my head that I did not initiate. Welcome, Sandy White.
Yeah, I guess. Can you hear me? Yeah. Hi. Hi, everyone. How poetry gets into artists, or how any art gets into an artist. You can call it a muse, you can call it a gift, you can call it something that's handed down between people, a form of electricity. I'm going to read to you a poem which is not in the book, which has to do with the first so-called muse I ever experienced. And it's about my father's mother's brother, Walter Rogers Stillwell, October 11th, 1883 to January 22nd, 1953. One night, when I was 3, in my Dr. Denton's PJs, my father swooped me up onto his shoulders and off we went down the sidewalks of Main Street, Matawan, New Jersey, to visit his Uncle Walt, retired vaudevillian, master of the art of the soft shoe. He was old. He carried a cane. Introduced as equals, we shook hands. Would he sing a song he wrote, my father asked, and dance for me, a soft shoe? His eyes lit up with the look of an eagle preparing for takeoff. His bird-like legs put his feet to a shuffle. He caressed the creaking floor with his thin soles of his slippers. With the twirl of his cane, he sang, Juba this and Juba that, Juba around the kid, the fat is good to grease the boots is good to wear. 40 pounds of candle grease set on the mantelpiece, hot potato in the skin, enough to make Mama grin, walking Joe on the ball of his foot. I'll be your friend, a long road to travel, slide to the left, a penny for to lend, walk into the parlor, walk into the safe, sashay to the right, walk into the parlor when you hear a banjo play. When you hear a good friend extending an arm, pick up on the strings, go back, come again. Don't you know your Uncle Jim? A pivot, a bow, a tap of the cane. We never met again, but not too long ago, I sensed a curious old man peeking over my shoulder. He shows up often enough now just to see how I am coming along. He visits when I write or sing or paint, concerning myself with juxtapositions of rhythms, sounds of words, and exaltations of color, line, and space. Turns out his twinkling timing runs my whole show. It's kind of a kinship kind of thing. Uncle Walt let me see his wings. Second poem I'm going to write, I wrote, it's a true story, and it happened around this time of year, the 4th of July, and it's a true story, and it's written in blank verse. Now, blank verse is something that Shakespeare used in many of his plays, most of them. And what that boils down to is that there are 10 syllables in a line. And it's usually in iambic pentameter, with no rhyme, except maybe a rhyming couplet at the end of each stanza. And here it is. And he used it in theater because the human voice he found could just last for 10 syllables. Da-da, 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 da-da. It was time to take a breath. So that's why they used it. It's called the Solid Metal Volvo 240DL. An article inside a magazine, a scientific magazine at that, told all about how metal energized the ions in the air and memorized, then magnetized surrounding molecules, almost as if the metal had a heart, like people do, or animals, or plants. I read it many years ago and knew that metal was about to get its due. But culture wasn't ready for such leaps, allowing metal to have feelings too. No follow-up would happen like I'd hoped. Without a change, the world went on and on, and on and on, and on and on, and on. And then, one day I traded in my car, my solid metal Volvo, for a truck. I drove that truck around for half a year, and never did I think what would appear. I parked the truck far from the county fair and hiked the long way to the picnic ground. I rode the Ferris wheel, ate pie, drank beer, and watched the fireworks spark along the sky. Then I had the darndest thought. I never mourned my car. Deep feelings welled inside me. I could not shake those feelings that I felt. I even had some tears fall from one eye. My car felt close, as if we'd shared a cry. Intensity stayed with me as I walked, amazing. Grief and loss filled up my soul. Now this is getting silly, so I said, and crossed along the freeway overpass towards the shopping center where I parked. That Volvo had some qualities I loved. It always started when I turned the key. The heater worked. It kept me warm enough. The trunk was large and carried all my stuff. The truck was where I left it for the day. The other cars had emptied out the lot. I blinked and stood in shock at what I saw. My mind was paralyzed. Next to my truck, in the next space, my Volvo sat in wait. The bumper held the same old license plate. The steering wheel still bore that knobby grip. What were the odds they both parked side by side? If I tell my friends, they will think I'd lied. I did not introduce it to the truck. I figured they'd already had a talk. Nor did I ask them what they had to say. My Volvo had been reaching out to me. The times we'd spent together had endured. Our auras merged. No reason to explain. The parking lot was huge. There we three were. I said goodbye and wished my car good luck. Then turned around and climbed into my truck. I think about that science magazine. Perhaps I shouldn't have thrown the thing away. It had good charts and graphs and lots of facts. It proved metal feels, loves like people do. I'd show my friends whose logic should be stretched. I do not need some scientific proof to tell me what or why and how to know or whether I should seek one fact that's true. I'd rather find my truth the way I do. It's a lady named Adelaide Crapsey in the early 1900s. She died when she was 35. Tuberculosis. She's a Yale student. Her father was a minister. She did an amazing thing. She invented a short form of poetry that nobody or very few people know about. Now, most people know about Japanese haiku, and people know about Japanese tanka. But here we are, sitting in the middle of the United States, and nobody, very few people know about the American cinquain. The American cinquain has a title, it has 5 lines with 2, 4, 6, 8, 2 syllables respectively. Adelaide wrote about 35 of them, I've written about 150. Here are a couple of them. The ecstasy of singing. One note made just for you is all you get from God. But when you hit it, you don't need more notes. Beneath the sea. Roots of those big trees feel deeply down into earth. We can't see them holding hands, but they do. Okay. I can squeeze this in quickly. Hitting the nail on top of the head. The roof of my hut is falling down. It needs a nail. Of all things in my cauldron, there is nothing so male as a nail, not even one. Wintertime lurks. A thatched roof lets inclement weather splash into buckets. All Eve's apples couldn't patch this together. Spare fig leaves and leftover spells are piled in the attic, stuffed into corners. They might do the trick to shut out this wretched night. It doesn't work. No herb or brew, no ball of string. I know when I've had it. All my potions spilled, everything ruined. I quit. I'll throw in my file of recipes and retire. I'll fly off to a warmer climate and a different lifestyle with no regret. Yet, what's that? A snort in my garden? Why, it's a satyr stomping through my cabbages and salsify, nibbling at my kumquats and rue. This is my lucky day. He's foraging for food. His nostrils quiver and exhale. He prances about in the moonlight half nude. Perhaps he has a nail. Hurry, brew, candle, crow, and cat. Old books, moss and honeybees, all things good, kind, and wise. Knotty tree roots, sparkle, please. Summon forth and hypnotize. Spit a fog, weave these light beams, dance on a leaf, diamonds of dew. There he swallows, see how he thirsts, since he hungers. Now let him chew till his eyes to pinwheels turn. And the first woman he sees, he will rush to her and ask if there's not some small thing he might do, some mediocre task to while away the time, like mending roofs. Poof! A burst of rainbow dust from my magic wand seals the deal. I will sit at the window that corresponds with a view of the garden below and casually watch the charm crystallize. What? He munches far too complacently on my hibiscus plant. Oh, curses, I think my wand was rained upon, too wet to enchant. My roof is falling down. It needs a nail. Must I surrender? Oh, satyr, a nail for a pail of milk, or would you care to barter? A hot cup of tea, a bowl of ambrosia soup. How about a month's supply of nourishment packed in a basket? A handmade sweater or an apple pie, warm bread with butter, jam with biscuits. Oh, do come a little closer. I have peachberry nectar with cream so sweet, fresh mushrooms baked into little cakes, feather pillows for your head and feet, tankards of ale, whatever it takes, just do bring a nail. My cornucopic delight, here for your benefit, will drown tonight unless you can save it. Too bad you have to leave so soon after here. While I filled your pipe with tobacco, climb this ladder. When you descend, I will feel less mad, so light-hearted, calm, and secure again. Come back after your amble through the forest, and I will bathe your cloven hooves in oils of spice and oregano. And we won't fool around with groups, but perhaps you could help me move the piano.
Thank you, Sandy. How y'all doing? Yeah? Not oversaturated? This is our time where we're wondering about a break, but everybody's smiling, so I'm going to keep going. In this case, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Jef Szilagyi. Turned out I ended up being a creative writing major at Sonoma State, but I ended up making my career in practice in poetics and Chinese medicine. I've always written poetry, even since when I was young. I had a more greater focus on it during my college years, but it's always been there. And it's a way for me in which I've been able to express my experience, and I think you'll hear in some of the themes of some of my poems about limitations and freedom. So, yeah. All right, I guess I'm going to turn it over. It's called Civil War. It's about a dear friend I lost who had mental health challenges, but also was really amazing and important in my life. And he had a deep fascination with the Civil War, and then it made sense later. Your ancestors fought for the gray and the blue. You traced them back and knew their stories by heart. Even sojourned to the battlefield soil, where their blood seeped into the earth when they died. That was your way. You gathered stories like mythic children. They became your wards that you fed. You felt the sunrise still coming and preached, howling truth, naked in the cold night under the white moon. Heavy buffalo steps plodding between allies, chanting for sacred humanity to awake upon Mother Earth once more. Calling your people to fast upon the mountain, salvation filled your veins with meaning. Slowly it grew stronger than your heart. You loved your mother, but walked in ashes, fighting dark energy. Utopic cocktails of perfect meaning blinded you to love. Your arc broke upon the black asphalt of Geronimo's land. Deep in a sad canyon of regret, your fight ended alone. You died. Another death poem, a little different though. It's called Prayer for Dinosaurs. I dig evolution and I think about it a lot. Aye! Great lizards, once upon rambling feet and gleaming teeth, your epic story failed, disastrously foregone, only mineralized echoes remain of your majestic wildness, hidden far away in the folds of this earth's dusty skirt. Faint to me, standing here below your bones, retrieved and reassembled, dragon we pretend. I cannot hear guttural calls, nor smell the turbid scent of your ambling body, roaming gardens primordial. Lost to us your eyes of wisdom when the great firestone pierced the sky. Dragon, we pretend, but you were something else, something altogether beyond. An actual world of nimble, long-legged crocodiles nesting below unimaginable trees. Your truth has never really been told as it was, nor can ever be felt for what you lived. Your heart's drumming and nerves abuzz in the vast dance of days under a younger sun and spiraling moon. Aye, great lizards, what you felt then, what you felt in the human race of eggs, begetting more eggs and yet more precious eggs against what odds I can only dream. Of course, you never knew that in life or death you flew amongst miraculous rivers of galaxies spinning, nor could you foretell the human heart with its elixirs of compassion. You only felt what you could feel, what you did feel. Aye, such fatal chance brought a dark dream on your final generation, a tidal wave of terrible energy, inexplicable collapse, creating nothing but peril and distress as your wild home sheared away into extinction. Great beasts of yore, I cry out at your helpless sacrifice in the unflinching ways of change for your pain, ancient ones, as your dream time perished. Floating here in the endless night of the cosmos, I sing to your lives lived, your world, and your time, blooming and vanquished. I sing over your bones bestrewn underfoot. I sing gratitude for you, ancient ones. I sing blessings of peace for you, ancient ones. For as long as this earth lasts, you shall echo in unseen ways. Be at peace now, for you shall always be far more to me than your final day. Thanks for being here and listening. I'm going to read a couple poems that blend life and dream, and it helped me kind of make sense of life. It's something I like to do. This one's called A Ballad for Walt Whitman. Walt Whitman is in the hospital, sleeping all the time since he fell and struck his head. He might even be slowly dying again. But such misfortune won't stop him from dreaming about poems with long gusts of sentences rushing through the wood, or syntactic syllables coursing creekside near the silver-flecked trout by the bank while songbirds are whistling into the sky. Doctors are worried he's damaged his brain beyond repair. A skull with pressure and leaking blood is a problem. He may never be the same, they say. They, no doubt, never read Walt's unceasing songs or felt the power of his lyric, his incantating creation's wisdom. They can't seem to perceive his immortality, that he lives again with infinite green blades still rising up from his soul singing. Walt lives, I tell you. Even in a deep coma, he's writing, and the galaxies are spinning because of it. Okay. Feel like I've been throwing thick poems at you, so I'm trying to do something a little lighter in shape. So this is one that's more blending a philosophical statement with a moment in life. It's titled Kingfisher. The kingfisher doesn't take a fish from water to tell them how terrible water is. The kingfisher takes a fish from water to show them the sky. Preacher, don't make fish afraid of water. If you want to show them the sky, show them molecules of truth. Oxygen is everywhere, whether you have gills or a nose. Show them a liquid sky tugged around by a moon. is not somewhere else, but right there inside the water. Your habit of throwing dead bones, marrowless and gnawed over as alms, leaves everyone afraid and thirsty. Stop it. Instead, feel the volume of the world you are in. Is it not beyond comprehension? Knowledge about words like heaven and earth hide how small we are. If you want wisdom, or simply to end all the fear coursing in your skeleton, be like the kingfisher. Flap briskly in the enormity of above and below, waiting for the fish to surface upward to the sky. Seize the fish. The world is naked. Go with something short and long. Title, Visitation. Okay, I'm going to complete this one. Visitation. If, in the lightless hours of a dark night, he who is adorned in feathered threads and dwells upon the other side came and knelt at your feet, and if he gazed in a stone silence at your soul being so intensely as to perceive dreams that you yourself have forgotten, would you, blurry-eyed and sunken in endless galaxies of thought, rise from your hypnotic repose to meet him and listen with a searching silence to comprehend his purpose for finding you? And if in your own heart he found there a buffalo skin drum, brown and taut, and placed it in your lap, would you pick it up? Would you play it and sing for your life? All right, so we're coming to a close. We have one more Wrangler left, and Mac, as most of us know, but Brenton MacKinnon has worked in many countries, true, speaks many languages, true, and has been in a lot of cultures in and outside of the States, teaching programs for the underserved. He's received far more than he could ever offer professionally and personally by doing so. Mac says, the one constant, this is Mac saying this, the one constant in my culture is the phenomenon of confessional writing, both in prose and in poetry. With a little urging and a few prompts, almost everyone will discover possibility of healing through the written word. And Mac's also the guy who started this whole trouble. So Mac, come on up.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for the introduction. I'll skip any personal addition about myself. And the joy of poetry and the healing it can bring, along with prose writing, sustains and blesses quite a few of us. Does anyone here shop at Goodreads? Any hands? How about Whole Foods? Any hands? Well, this one's for the rest of us. It's called at Trader Joe's. Don't take it personal. Like a checkerboard with checkers glued and raging children indigo, the parking lot was jammed and rude, and we got at Trader Joe's. How dare you take my parking space? With eyes that sent me down below, she dispensed designer mace, and I died at Trader Joe's. Gridlocked forever in metal embrace, without exit, spot, or flow, only a demon with a Revlon face, and I died at Trader Joe's. Gridlocked forever in metal embrace, without exit, spark, or flow. Carnivores began the fun, and soon above us circling crows saw us all become undone, and we all died at Trader Joe's. The horns, the screams, the bright blue blood, poor vegans fell like dominoes. Petitioners squashed in asphalt mud. Everyone died at Trader Joe's. Gurus chanted long libretto. Shamans shouted braggadocio. A princess whined in high falsetto. And they too died at Trader Joe's. Our cell phones rang to no effect. Our shopping carts rolled to and fro. Our SUVs all smashed and wrecked. And they all died at Trader Joe's. Bulldozers came and graded ground and buried us down below. Your parking space can now be found, for we died for you at Trader Joe's. Green shoppers will be terrorized. True nature they soon show. Road rage and riot and homicide, beware of Trader Joe's. We've all been to that parking lot. Okay, what have we got here? I've been chosen for comic relief to leave you all laughing, so you'll want to come back next time. There. Proof writer in the sky. An old proof writer with bright red ink. One dark and dreary day, upon my paper he focused, using pen to slash away. When all at once a mighty herd of red-eyed writers he saw, throwing broken pencils with all erasers gnawed. Their backs were bent and tired, typing while they sat. Glasses fogged and crooked, afraid of bureaucrats. A bolt of fear goes through them as the mail arrives each day. Glasses fogged and crooked. A bolt of fear goes through them as this mail arrives each day. Hold their breath, they open, just to hear proof writers say, one more time, try it again, proof writer in the sky. Their eyes were blurred, their bodies all soaked with sweat, writing hard for approval, but they ain't caught it yet. So they have to type forever on those desks up in the sky. Scribbling more drafts, we hear their mournful cry. Dreamer, change your ways, or with us you will always write. Trying to catch acceptance, but no publisher in sight. One more time, do it again. Proof rider in the sky. I was embarrassed. Okay, this one's called Calling. Calling. When I was lost and wandering, grandfather called out to me. From the other side, deep in dark valley, where he still talks to bird people. For long nights I sat on a limb in guardian oak in the curve of her arm. I called out to Owl, for grandfather taught me, and Owl came. He lives high above our meadow with his hubris curiosity. Darkness hid my form, and Owl flew to our oak. Neon yellow rings inside a spinning head stared and dared me, speak my people's tongue. So I gently called again. Angry yellow hoops grew larger, seduced, not by elder hunter of feathers, only humiliated by a fool in a tree. Betrayed by curiosity, he turned his square back to me. I felt the gift of his wing breath sweeping across my face. With the scent of night, Owl returned to his throne, older and wiser. Now Brother Hawk screams, high above my suburban jumble. Daytime longer and no fool, he answers my shrill whistle of long-distance calls. Am I a challenger? Potential mate? Egg brother? Only a sad imitation low down in this earthbound labyrinth. When I was lost and wandering, grandfather's breath passed through me with each bird song. Now in my concrete forest, only crow people turn one eye and stare down, interrupting their a cappella cacophony when I crackle with crow call. And they too, lost and wandering, squawk of the forgotten time in broken echoes. Few of us know what bird people say, or what the river sings, and the fire screams. Okay. What's in the box of choice? Any bird watchers here? Bird lovers? Yeah. It's West Marin. Okay. Closest and last one. Well, this one's entitled My Golden Retriever, which is a Ponzer vacuum cleaner. All of this is made from dog fur, by the way. Okay. Anybody got a dog here? Come on, I bet it. You love them. Huh? Okay. Only 2 dogs? Domesticated coyote. Demonic shedding machine. Blitzkriegs the lower countries of rug, couch, and pillow, raining down hair bombs. Long golden threads woven into glistening furry parachutes float across hardwood floors, gliding into hard-to-reach targets. Magical ancient warrior. Fur suffocates and stops. Panzer advance of 21st century vacuum cleaner. Soon captured fur balls, forced into labor gangs, fertilize the garden. Rescued in the beaks of dive bombing crows, imprisoned again. As soft cannon fodder in round nests of hairless, squawking recruits in their camouflaged trees. Commando winds liberate, and surviving harried survivors drift into no man's land where Partisan rats hide them in the underground. Again I pull hair bombs. Hair balls, these fuzzy saboteurs from inside the cannon of the Panzer vacuum. Man and beast merge. Golden hair mixes with casualties falling from my own gray helmet. Is this my destiny? To aid and comfort future generations of crows and rats? To face the march of time, not on the barricades raging against the machine, but to slowly shed pretensions and momentarily stop the advance of finely engineered German Panzer Brand vacuum cleaners. Okay, we'll wind this up with the perfect closure to an evening like this. I didn't have enough time for this one. Cheers. Okay, the poem's not here. I'm going to have to fake it. Have you ever wondered what the true fate is of almost every poet? Well, let's take a look. Bear with me. This one's called Arrival. Arrival. Here I am now, with the giants. Tolstoy, Tolkien, Twain. Arrive now. We are everywhere. You will find us. You will find us in all libraries now. For we have arrived at our final destination, the free books at your local library. If you're wondering why I'm chewing gum, why a poet would stand up in a reading and shoot them. The answer is in our anthology. And all you gotta do is pick up a copy tonight and snuggle in with it when we go home. So, thank you for your patience.
All right. So you've met the 5 Wranglers, the word Wranglers of West Marin. Thank you so much, Carrie and the San Geronimo Valley Community Center for supporting us through the past couple of years, but also especially tonight. Really appreciate your work and support. And it's a good community organization. If you have looking for a place to donate, it's a good place to donate. Thank you again for listening. And my final invitation is, if you're moved by something tonight, don't be afraid to tell someone, whether that's in this room, at home, or with a friend somewhere this week. Thank you again. Have a good night.
Yeah, I get to relax a little bit. I'm gonna go to the fair tomorrow with Nancy and birthday's Saturday. Your birthday? Yeah. So we're gonna go out to dinner and celebrate a little bit.
You know what I love? I love just the whole body of it. I love that.
I was trying to love the back because I didn't want to like overdo it. You know?
You did a great job.
Are you writing?
Yes, I am. I just moved out here recently. And yes, I am writing.
You're writing.
What?
It's so important.
Oh yeah, well, yeah. And I've just retired recently, so